What's up, guys? Today is Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020, and baseball's back. But is it really? We don't know yet. It might be. I'm joined here with Stephen Cashin. CJ is on vacation this week and next week as well. So if he's listening, what's up, CJ? Hope you're having a good time out there on the golf course. But Stephen and I are stuck here talking about baseball. And how are you doing, first of all, Stephen? Are you even excited for this? I mean...
Yeah, it gives us something to watch. Now we have baseball, a finalized deal for the most part. I don't know, so it could turn around and do a 360 on us, and who knows what their players might counter here. But we got a set date, got a set schedule here, and we'll be getting all three major sports back and at the end of July, and I'm looking forward to it no matter what we get. At least I get to watch some sort of baseball coming up here shortly.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the positive side to me, too. I'm like, you know what? I really want to see Garrett Cole pitch in pinstripes this year. I didn't want that taken away from me. But I'm kind of upset, too, because it's like, and I'll ask you this, too, Stephen, like, do you think the World Series champion, whoever wins it this year, is it just kind of invalid?
There's always going to be an asterisk next to the champion's name, I would say. But I look at it as you can't. MLB was saying, let's name them the tournament winners. Like, at the end of the season, not the World Series champion. I think no matter what happens, you have to crown them the World Series champion, just because that's just how it's been. I mean, you can always say whatever you want about whoever wins, just because it's shortened. But I think in a way, yeah, it can be invalid because it's only 60 games, but you still got to crown your champion because at the end of the day, you're still playing the same talent. You're going through the whole ringer, the whole same postseason. It's just going to be a different regular season landscape. So in ways, yes, it could be invalid, but you got to stick to what you've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, we all know the Rays won't do it anyway. So, I mean, if it's going to be someone, it'll probably be my Yankees.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, hey, we're still going to get to play each other 10 times this year, I think. I think out of the city, you play like each division team, I think 5 to 10 I don't even know how the math's broken up, but there will be Yankees Rays games this year, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait for that matchup because, I mean, last year it was neck and neck out of 60 games. I was rattling off some stats last year, and the Yankees through 60 finished 38-22, and the Rays were 37-23 through 60 last year. So it could be a very tight race in that division. Who knows? Blue Jays, Red Sox. We don't know what these bottom teams could bring into a 60-game season. So I'm really excited to watch the AL East, and obviously that Yankees Rays matchup is going to be electric to say the least.
I mean, yeah, like we were doing our baseball previews, which are all up, by the way. They're actually useful now. Thank God we didn't do them for nothing. But, like, yeah, you just mentioned Toronto. Like, could Vlad just go off on a 60-game stretch and go crazy? I mean, and then they just make the playoffs? That's some of the stuff that I think could happen this year.
Exactly, and you have Biggio, you have Bichette. That young team could, who knows? You say like 60 games, it's one spark you can get in 10, 15 games, and you run the table there for a good stretch, and you can give yourself an advantage here because there's not much room for error in this shortened season. And I'm concerned with the Rays and like these top teams is you got to look out for these middle of the road teams because if you mess up, there's not much room to gain ground on these teams. But we'll see. I think I'm really interested to see what this Blue Jays team could bring to the table in this division. That's my sleeper, just because it's so short this year.
Yeah, and me and you both had the Padres in our predictions. They're going to have a big chance now, I think.
Oh, yeah, this changed the whole dynamic. This is perfect storm for them to really just get out and go. Their pitching's good. Their offense, they've really loaded up and made some great trades, got Tommy Pham, all those guys. And, we'll see. I couldn't tell you right now who could be the front runner. Obviously, the Yankees and Dodgers have the most potential, just the star-studded power. But everyone's in the mix now. If you're a MLB team, the aspirations are there. You have a better chance to have anyone to win this year.
For sure, and I should have started off the episode with this, but what happened to get baseball back in the first place? So basically, these sides have been going at it. We all know for like the last few months, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So last night, the players finally voted on the owner's proposal to come back for the season, and the players rejected it 33-5, which means that Rob Manfred was finally forced to just say, okay, we're doing the 60-game season. The problem with that is that when the players were offering their deals, they were like, hey, we want expanded DH, and we want expanded playoffs and universal DH. And now neither of those are in place for this year because the owners are like, we want everything we want. Players, you get nothing you want. So it's kind of a bummer, man, because I am so tired of watching pitchers go up there and hit 102 all year and get a base hit and everyone flips out. Can we just switch to universal DH already?
Yeah, exactly. I'm tired of beating this to death too. We've seen the numbers, and you can't compare the two leagues. When it comes to having a DH and having a pitcher hit, the numbers in the American League are way higher offensively than the NL because you have that ninth hitter that can provide you power, productivity, and you get to the pitching spot in the NL, and you're getting a hit one out of every 10 to 15 at bats, and that's just you're not going to produce anything at that nine spot, and you're constantly pinch hitting late in games. So I think a universal DH here, not having it pushed through for this season to experiment with, is kind of a disappointment for me too. And no expanded playoffs. Like we said, so many teams are going to be in the mix. It's going to be very tight coming down the stretch. And some teams are going to have a great, 60 games, but they could be left out, and that's just really going to be a bummer because, it just you're going to have not as the same feel as a spring training and getting prepared. So I think, in all fairness, I think they should have expanded it quite a few spots on both sides of the deal here.
Yeah, I mean, I should say, I was looking on Twitter earlier. John Heyman, who's been all over this stuff, he was saying that they might, for those two issues alone, the owners might make concessions and be like, all right, fine, we'll do both of those. But still, how can we expect them to come to any agreement at this point? They haven't agreed on shit this entire time, and now we're supposed to just expect the owners to do something nice? I don't think so. But another thing that was implemented, which we both don't like, baseball's now saying that for this season only, because these players, by the way, 60 games in 66 days, that's crazy. They're saying that because of that, extra inning games, now once you get to a certain point, they're going to put a runner on second base to start the inning, which to me is a gimmick. It's not baseball. Like you said, Steven, and my brother told me too, that's what they do in travel ball.
It's the old Texas tiebreaker, as we used to call it, and it's just I get it when you're playing like travel ball in summer. These games can drag on forever. The talent's not as there at the high level as college and in pro baseball. But how you're telling me right now you're going to decide a playoff matchup or potentially a division matchup off of a tiebreaker where you place a runner on second base. Let's put this scenario out. The Yankees and Rays are tied in the division, and you go out and it's the 16th inning. Rays went off some bullshit like that. They put a guy on second base. They score. Game over. I'd feel robbed. And personally, I've played a game in travel ball where that's happened to us, and it sucks because you're like, well, we didn't really lose that game. It was just a asterisk, bullshit rule that they put in place, and you lost, and you didn't. The better team didn't win. So that's, to me, I don't see how that could work. You're going to have so many fan bases and teams probably pissed off if that rule does get pushed through because that's not baseball. You got to play until someone really makes a play and makes something happen and wins the game really fair and square.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally with you. And like, just thinking about that just now, about this 60 game and 66 days thing, what about weather delays? I mean, if it rains somewhere, what are they going to do with double headers? What are they going to do with this? Because the season, what they're saying right now is we don't want the regular season going past October. So they want the playoffs to start in October and end before November. So, like, there's no wiggle room at all. Like, if you get these rain delays, any other sort of delay, if there's a COVID delay, the season might just end, period. Mm-hmm. So we don't even know if we're going to complete this thing.
Yeah, you kind of have to play devil's advocate, with this season. It's just the COVID cases could come back. We've seen the Phillies players test positive over in Clearwater here at their spring training facility. That's what scares you the most about this. There's, they've argued and gone back and forth with these negotiations for so long now. You could have struck a deal a month ago, and then you give yourself some chance where, let's say, a resurgence happens, some guys test positive. All right, put the season on pause for a week or 2 weeks. Now you can come back. This happens, and now the season's in jeopardy, and it's just a wash. And we come back in February, and we restart this whole thing again. But hopefully, everything works out logistically. I just don't think, like I said, there's no room for error. The weather delay, you get to go play. I guess the next day you're gonna have to go and play both games right away, or because every game counts. You have to play every single one of these 60 games because it's how close it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, real quick here, I'm going through my baseball previews, and I wanted to continue this DH discussion because we were going to do a full pod on it, but I feel like we could just put it in this one. For all of the pitchers hitting people that want pitchers to still hit, I'm just going to go through the National League lineups and tell you who the DHs would be and how much better these lineups would be because we're in the group chat, Steven, and all they say in the group chat is, oh, these teams aren't prepared for a DH. First of all, you don't have to prepare for a DH. Whoever is the next best player on your bench is your DH. Anyone's better than a pitcher at the plate. That's like a stupid argument. So I'm just going to go through these slides here because we have our old things, and I'm going to look at who the DHs would be. I'm just scrolling through the page here, just past the Houston Astros on there. All right, so the Padres. All right, so they could do a bunch of things. Right now I have Will Myers as DH because they have Trent Grisham, that young right fielder who I think is going to get the nod in right field. And on their bench, they have Jurickson Profar and Brian Dozier, but I think Will Myers would probably DH. You're telling me 18 homers, 53 RBIs isn't better than a pitcher? I mean, you go through the Arizona Diamondbacks. Jake Lamb, this guy can hit 25 home runs. The LA Dodgers now get to DH either A.J. Pollock or Chris Taylor. Both guys that should never be on a bench. Now they're going to get to be in the lineup. I can keep going. The Mets, too. Now they can balance out Dom Smith, Robbie Cano, Cespedes, and they don't got to sit 2 of the 3 on the bench. The Brewers can now play Justin Smoke. I don't see why people are like, oh, you have to prepare. Just put the next best guy on your bench at DH.
Yeah, if you're telling me that they're not prepared for a DH, there's nothing to prepare for. Like I said, you have to be you're not a baseball fan if you think that that's not going to be more productive than a pitcher at the plate. And there's no preparation. You're just placing the next best offensive guy, like you said, into the pitching spot. I guarantee if you asked every pitcher in the league in the National League side if they want to hit or you would put another guy in their spot, I guarantee you 99% of the guys would say, yes, I don't want to hit, put a guy in there and be a DH. Because it helps them out. They don't want to think about hitting. They're there to do one thing, and that's pitch and throw the ball over the plate. And so there's nothing to prepare for. These hitters are working every day in the cage in batting practice. You're telling me they don't want more ABs? Come on, it's just silly when guys are telling me, oh, we don't need the DH. I'm sure as shit if the St. Louis Cardinals, like I said, would love a DH because with their offense needing a little bit of spark to get them over the hump, they would take that all day. And so that's just nonsense when people try to give me that, we don't want the DH bullshit.
Yeah, and like the Cubs too. Do you think Kyle Schwarber's fat ass wants to be in left field? Like he probably wants to just sit back there and hit dingers. That's what the Cubs have wanted him to do for years. So, I mean, another thing that they bring up too is the strategy. And I look at that and I'm like, what is the strategy? Because what strategy is supposed to do is it's supposed to make your team better. But in this sort of strategy, it's, oh, well, if your pitcher's going 5 innings, 2 earned runs, his pitch counts at 60 through the 5th inning, you can get 2 more innings out of him, but you're down by 2 runs and you have runners on second and third, you got to take your pitcher out. That's hurting your team, not helping your team. That's not strategy.
Yeah, the optics isn't, think about how skewed that is. Your pitcher's dealing, but you're down by, like I said, you're down by a couple runs, 1 run maybe. You want to put that bat in there trying to spark something, and let's say that you have runners in scoring position, your pitcher's coming up. Now you got to choose, do I keep my pitcher who's dealing in, or do I go get these runs here? And so you have no choice but to take them out. So there's no strategy involved. It's just a heartache that these teams have had to deal with for years on hand. And the American League has had not to worry about that, which I love. And being a Rays fan, when we go play in the NL, it is just a shit show when it comes to that. Because you have to change pitchers constantly. You're constantly pinch hitting guys, and it's just a heartache, for anyone involved. So I really think that, there's no strategy involved besides a pitcher going up there and bunting and moving a guy over. That's all they're there for.
Yeah, man. I pay $250 to watch pitchers bunt. That's what I want to see when I go to a game.
Yeah, exactly. I want to go see Garrett Cole go up there and hit. Let's go implement the.
Pull his hands.
That'd be like that
on second base. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, my ace pitcher's going down and running down a 4-3 down the first baseline and blows his knee out. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah, it happened to Tanaka 2 years ago. Both hammies running from third to home, just
Yeah,
out.
that just throws away the whole pitchers are athletes argument. I'm like, I saw that. I'm like, really? Like, you're making us look like we don't do anything besides just throw a baseball out there.
Yep, yep. So, real quick before we go, I'm putting myself on the spot too. I'm just going to ask, do we have homer titles, batting titles, Cy Young predictions, anything like that off the top of your head?
Cy Young, God, I don't know. It's such a short season. I don't know how you can do a Cy. I mean, you obviously there's gonna be awards dished out, but I think Garrett Cole's obviously gonna be up there. Tyler Glass now, not trying to be like a Rays homer
Hey,
here, but I
no,
think
real,
the way he started last year, he had like a .95 ERA. He was dialing. If he can go back to that form, I think him and Garrett Cole in the AL could be really front runners. Verlander will be up there again, I believe. For the AL, that's who I would have. NL, Kershaw is always up there. Scherzer, I think, and Strasburg too. I mean, your household names in baseball, I think, could really carry the weight in such a short season. But
yeah.
the offensive batting titles, I really couldn't tell you. It's just going to be such a sprint to the finish, and batting is just so tough to really keep a hot hand the whole season.
I have a sleeper. I think Fernando Tatis is going to dominate.
Mm.
Like every time I think about this short season, I'm like, he played a short season last year, and he went all. I think he hit like 22 homers in 60-ish games.
Yeah.
I mean, he might do that again. This kid's a superstar. No one's talking about him.
Exactly, and he was hurt. I think a couple times last year. I think
Yeah.
was dealing with some hamstring issues. He got hurt against the Rays. I remember watching he tweaked something, making a sick backhand play, throwing it first. But with him playing a short season, not many teams have a ton of film on him too. So trying to figure out how to get him out coming up this season is going to be tough because they don't have much on him. So he's going to have an advantage to that aspect. And that's not a bad pick, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And so we've been talking about all the positive-ish stuff, but to round this out, we'll talk about how do you think this is going to impact the game when we have to get to these new CBA agreements after the 2021 season? Because there's a lot of people saying right now we're just going to end up being in the exact same place that we are right now when we have to negotiate this new CBA, and there's just going to be a ton of fighting. My suggestion, like I said last week, just start negotiating now, get it over with. Not necessarily right now because these players have to focus on the games. But I'm saying this offseason, just do it now. This shouldn't be that difficult. You already basically started the negotiations this summer. Just carry it into the offseason, get the deal done. Because with the cheating scandal, with all of this, with the owners looking as selfish as they have, with the players looking as selfish as they have, they're going to need to do a lot to redeem themselves. I think getting a CBA done quick would be one of those things.
Yeah, for sure. I said it way before I think this whole negotiation thing started. I told you, I'm like, this is gonna get really ugly, and it hasn't been pretty the whole time. It's been going back and forth. I think 20 times here, and no one can seem to strike a deal. And we finally got something here. But I totally agree. You should be working on the CBA now, trying to round things out that you want to be accomplished in that next agreement. And this is the perfect time right now. You have a shortened season. You're going to work it out. You're going to play however many games your champion's going to be crowned, hopefully. So work things out right now. Think about expanded playoffs. Think about universal DH. Think about all the little things you want in your agreement. Owners and player side come together, and so that way, when this deal expires and we come to signing off a new one, you have something set in stone. It's signed. Boom. We don't have to hear ESPN talking about how shitty baseball is, how it's dying. No, we're ready to go. We're gonna play this full season. Here's your new optics. Here's your deal. Boom, we're ready to play. So I think they really need to tackle that first and get that rolling so they can really heal this wound that they've started in this past off season or during this pandemic pause.
Yeah, 100%. And this new season, spring training, they're reporting July 1. The season's supposed to start July 24. But there are some people saying that players might sit out, so we're definitely going to keep track of that because when you really think about it, there's no expanded playoffs, then 2/3 of the league is basically coming in, playing 60 games for nothing, making less money, and then going home. So I could actually understand if some guys on these lower teams are like, I don't want to play. 60 games, there's no point if only 10 out of 30 teams are going to be in this playoff.
Yeah, we've seen it from some NBA players too. I think Cousins today decided he was going to sit out the remainder of the season.
Yep.
But to relate that back to baseball is like you think about guys that are maybe coming back off arm injuries, have potential to come back and finish, and say, you know what, I don't really want to go and play 60 games, risk my health, the rest of my career potentially, just for a makeshift season that might not be worth the time, and I'm getting paid less. My contract's coming up here. So a lot of things for some of these players that are on the cusp of coming back have a lot to think about, and I wouldn't put anything against them if they decided to, take a knee and go on the sideline and just not play the rest of the season just because it's not worth it to them.
Yeah, I mean, like two players on the Yankees right now. I mean, they're saying they're going to come back, Aaron Hicks and Aaron Judge. But I mean, Aaron Hicks just had Tommy John. He doesn't have to come back. Aaron Judge is dealing with whatever the fuck he's dealing with. We don't even know what it is. He could sit out if he wants to. Although I think Judge would be really dumb if he did because he's not getting paid really anything. And if he misses this season, I think he's 28 right now.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be 29, turning 30 next year. Well, this is a different discussion for a different time. My opinion, and this might shock some people, the Yankees should not sign Aaron Judge to a long-term deal at 30 years old with all these injuries. But that's why I think he'd be dumb for sitting out. Judge has to play this season to prove I'm still Aaron Judge. But as for Aaron Hicks, I think it's pretty funny that he had Tommy John surgery when the playoffs end, and he ends up missing 0 games for it. So pretty good time to have Tommy John if you're Aaron Hicks.
Yeah, he couldn't have drawn it up any better. You're not missing any time, and you're still being able to rehab and potentially be able to come back 100%. So, and then back to the Aaron Judge thing real quick too is you think about a young player looking for a contract year two, coming into one, I should say, and you need as many reps as you can get. And we've seen the struggles he's had with strikeouts and keep being consistent throughout the whole span of the season. I think for him to sit out, if he were to go and say, "Hey, I'm not going to play," would be stupid. It's going to hurt his how much money he's going to make because I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not going to sign this guy to a multi-million, hundreds of $1 million deal to play, half seasons, be inconsistent. That's just my take on it. If he sits out, I would sign him to a 3-year bridge deal and be like, all right, you got to show us you can be consistent in this time period, or we're not going to let you walk, but we're not going to give you all your money.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if his body's breaking down now in his prime, like once he gets into his 30s, that's pretty scary. I mean, it's already basically happening with Giancarlo Stanton too, and the Yankees do not want to have two of the exact same person, dealing with the same situation. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out in the next number of years. But I will say there is a little bit of NHL news because I know we're both hockey guys too. So right now, I'll pull up the screenshot about the hub cities. Right here, 1 second. I know that recently they opened up the hub city options to Canada, which is honestly for me, it's their sport anyway. It's the Canadian sport anyway. It's actually kind of appropriate to me if a hub city's in Canada. I think that's cool. But I'll read it here. So Dallas and Pittsburgh have been informed they are no longer in the hub city process. Columbus and Minnesota are also out. So the 6 that remain are Vegas, Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, LA, and Chicago. So those are the 6 hub city options right now. I think Vegas is basically confirmed because they've got so many facilities over there. But they should totally go up to Vancouver or Toronto. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It's, hockey grew out of Canada, and that's, like I said, it's their thing. And for them to get left out of having I think it makes it kind of like, like you have East and West, and so you're going to have a city in Canada and one in the U.S. I think that's great for the sport. You're going to have 2 different locations. I think Vancouver would be ideal just because it's not as densely populated as Toronto, but Toronto has a ton of facilities too. You can't go wrong with either one. Vegas is good too because it's really remote. There's a lot of places for players to stay and teams to get spread out. So I really do believe Vegas is already locked and loaded. I've seen tweets all over the place saying that they're going to be confirmed as one, and I would like to see Toronto as the 2nd city, but if it's Vancouver or something, that'd be great for the sport and in general.
Yeah, for sure. And then little tiny NFL news too. Dak signed his tender. I think that's what it's called, or his franchise
Yeah.
tag. So he's
hmm
getting paid 31 and a half this year. Okay, cool. I mean, we all kind of knew he'd be back this year anyway. So these negotiations are basically stalled. What'll be really interesting though, Jamal Adams really wants to go to the Cowboys. So, how will that money affect Dak? Because Jamal's going to need a lot of money.
Isn't he already on a contract too? What is he on a current deal, right?
Let me
Adams.
see. Jamal Adams. Look up Jamal Adams' contract. But even
So
regardless, he's going to have to be paid a lot because
yeah,
he's
he's one of
obviously
the
one of the best
best,
safeties.
one of the better defensive backs in like the league. So I mean, you think about you're gonna have to carry that contract, what he's on now, and then potentially re-signing him. But yeah, that was a surprise to me when he said he wanted out, and not surprised, but kind of just caught everyone off guard. No one saw
Well,
it really
hey,
coming.
my dad's a Jets fan, and he said he's used to this. So he was basically expecting this to happen. But the contract for Jamal Adams, 4 years, 22.2. So not a ton of money yet, but it'll be up there eventually.
Yeah, he keeps playing the way he's been playing. He's one of the better playmakers in the league, defensive wise. Yeah, he's gonna have a big payday coming up in his next contract year. So, definitely the teams that are in the hunt. Tampa said they wanted to go up. He said one of his destinations was Tampa, but they don't have the cap to, I think, bring him on. It'd be nice, but I think the Cowboys will end up landing him. Honestly, that's probably the favorite in the books right now.
Yeah, I mean, if Jerry Jones wants someone, he's going to get that someone. So we've learned that over time. And
hmm
then a little bit of FAU stuff, if you guys want to check that out. Willie Taggart did a press conference yesterday. I was retweeting. I wasn't in on the press conference, but I was retweeting a bunch of the things that Willie Taggart was talking about over at FAU Football. So I would highly recommend go to the University Press for FAU and go check out Owl's Nest if you want to learn anything about the Taggart press conference yesterday. He's talking a lot about obviously how the football team is handling all these situations, how they're preparing for next season. But I'm really excited for FAU football. They got Michael Irvin's kid to come in on his senior year to be our tight end, and which is really important now because all three tight ends from last year are gone or injured. So this is going to be really important for Michael Irvin. And yeah, so anyway, if you want to check out FAU football news, check out the U Press sports section or check out Owl's Nest. They're great over there as well. So yeah, that'll do it for this pod. There's not a lot of new news out there. We will be back next Tuesday. CJ's still on vacation, so he may or may not come on with us. He's out on the golf course now. So do you have a score prediction? What do you think he's shooting right now at the golf course?
He said he was shooting for 95 yesterday, and then he
Okay.
texted me he was pissed. He had a blow up hole, and he ended up shooting 102. But I'm rooting for him to shoot low 90s sometime this week. But we'll see how he ends up doing. He's out there with his dad playing out in, I think it's Michigan. So looks
Yeah.
beautiful. He's having a great time.
What
Stuck
are
here,
you
and
went
it's
the
hot.
other day too? What were you shooting out there?
I went and shot 84 yesterday.
Oh,
Probably one of my better rounds I've shot in a while. I think I'm back to last summer's form, but I'm like creating a small golf addiction here. Only thing I can do right now with everything shut down. So
I'm
might be
telling
on
you.
the tour next year.
I'm telling you, I need to get my swing down because you golf, CJ golfs, and my friend Tyler golfs. Like you're all pretty close, and I just don't know how to fucking swing a golf club. So I got to really get it going here because I'm an adult now. Adults should be able to play golf.
Yeah, I know. It's
It's a
like
man's
once
sport.
you get past mid-20s, you gotta be a golf. And it's like unless you the real world, that's the only thing we can do after.
Yep, yep. It's good to go out there for a few hours on a Sunday. Nice 6 pack of beers, chilling out on the golf course. That's what you want.
Exactly, it's the life.
All right, man. So you have fun today. I know you're going out to work now, and we'll talk next week. Thank you guys for listening. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, a bunch of other platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Strict Sports FAU and on Instagram and Facebook at Strictly Sports FAU. All the links to that will be in the description. Peace, guys.